Joining us right now is Mike Auger from Patriot Home Inspection. Mike, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, always a pleasure to have you on. Now, today you're talking about old houses. So what about
that's right.
old houses?
A lot of times, people ask me questions about old houses. And, naturally, the construction techniques over the years have changed. And so I'd like to just kind of answer some of the questions, the common things that come up with an old house. Now, old house can vary depending on your perspective. To a millennial, a house from 1978 might seem old. And then to somebody else, you might not consider a house old until it reaches 100 or 150 years old. So
True.
Basically, the older the house gets, the more opportunity that there has been for deferred maintenance or things that people haven't got to repairing. As long as the house is sound, a house that's 300 years old can be just as nice as a house that is, 300 days old.
That's true.
It's just that you have to keep it up,
Much like everything else, much like your car, you got to do the upkeep on the car. You got to do the upkeep on the house.
If you take care of it, it'll last a long time. And if there are homes in Europe, a 100-year-old house is new. So
True.
if you take care of it, it'll last a long time. The biggest thing that we get asked a lot of times, and especially when you're talking about first-time buyers, is one of my least favorite questions: does it meet code? That's almost never something that we can determine because building codes, electrical codes, plumbing codes, they change throughout the years, and we really have no way of knowing when different modifications happen to the house. And it may have met code then, but it wouldn't meet code now. The thing that you have to remember is as long as it's satisfactory when we do our inspection, it doesn't matter if it meets today's code. It matters if it's functioning properly, and we would assume that it did meet the code back in the day when it was done.
Right, and if it was a house built in 1930s, it met code back then, it's been grandfathered in now automatically, correct?
Exactly. So you don't have to go ahead and change everything just because they change code. And the biggest thing that we see with that typically is, electrical issues. They didn't have grounded outlets back in 1920 and 1930. They used different circuits, things like BX wiring and knob and tube wiring that you can leave in the house. It's just it would never meet today's standard. Some of the problems that we run into, especially the expensive ones, are materials that we no longer are allowed to use. For example, asbestos is a fantastic insulator. However, when you put those particles in the air, it can cause lung cancer, so it is bad. And a lot of times we'll see either vermiculite-style asbestos or asbestos on steam pipes. You'll see asbestos materials, and if they're not properly encapsulated, that's a hazard. And even though technically it's grandfathered in, that's something you should still go ahead and remedy anyway.
Yeah, you want to remediate that, I would imagine. Just like if you run into lead paint, I would imagine you've got to get rid of that as well.
Yeah, or encapsulate it, and that again, that's the thing. All the paint before 1978 had lead in it. That's how they made it strong and how it would adhere well to the surface. And again, they've determined that lead dust getting on kids' hands and babies eating it's bad naturally. So you want to just take care of the lead paint as well, for sure.